I'm happy to be here. I have some connections, some history with Unity. Some of you will remember Hala Piekarski. Yes. Hala was a member of the Unitarian Church at the same time as she was a member with Unity. And we would go back and forth quite a bit. And Hala was, well, she was so interested in so many of these matters of religion, matters of faith, matters of personal growth. And so I sought her out as a mentor. And she would talk often about coming here and being a part of Unity. Another connection I have is with Clark Reed. Clark Reed was a member here for I don't know, maybe a decade. He's an American who came to work for Canada many years, came to work in Canada in the 70s, and then finally went back to the US to his home. But he was definitely a mentor of mine. And he did training, and I was part of his training groups. We became friends. I visited him often in Florida once he moved back and so on. And both Hala and Clark have passed on. Another connection I have is with Mark, who's attended for a while here. He's even on the board here for a while, right? Yes. And another connection is Cheryl, because Cheryl attends the Interfaith Grand River meetings that I also am a part of. So those are my connections to you. Thank you. In terms of me, I think that song we just heard is my story. I grew up in a very intense, conservative, fundamentalist, evangelical, Bible-beating family. And so all those things that he referred to as a child, and going through with church and the impression, the messages that were given to him as a child, that's what I got. And then I have also gone through the process that the author of the song has gone through. Now everything is different. Everything looks different. Everything is holy now. So that's what I would say, that in a nutshell, that's kind of a good description of my own journey as well. So I love that song. I just love it. I'm a singer, guitar playing and singer, and that song is something that I will perform once in a while as well. And Mark and I have sung together often. In fact, twice we have performed at Unity when it was on Queensway. Was it Queensway? Kingsway.
Kingfisher Drive. Kingsway Drive.
Kingsway Drive. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So twice we performed there as a duet as well. So I have, connections with you folks. It's nice to be here. I'm going to start with the meditation. I'm going to use this bell, this Buddhist bell. The bell is going to represent something. The bell is, when I ring the bell, I'm going to take a moment, and I'm asking you to reflect on what you've just heard. And then I'll move on and ring the bell again. I'm going to ask you to reflect again. And this morning, as I was driving here, I thought, what's familiar about this? What's familiar about this? And I remember a Bible scripture that was on the wall in our home. My mother loved putting up, verses in framed pictures on the wall. And there was a passage by St. Paul somewhere, and I don't remember exactly which one it was, but at the very end, the quote is, "Think on these things." So I remember that, and I thought, that's what I'm doing with this bell. I'm asking you to think on these things. So I'll begin, and you will think on these things. O mystery. O mystery beyond my understanding, voice in my heart answering to the earth, and light of distant stars. O wonder of the spring, leading the seasons on, the dewdrops sparkling on the web at sunrise, and unseen life moving in depths and shallows of the brook, trembling in raindrops at the edge of eaves, whisper to me of secrets I would know. O power that flows through me and all that is, light of stars, pulsating in the atoms of my heart, whether you are mind and spirit or energy transcending human thought, I cannot know. And yet I feel that out of pain and sorrow and the toil through which creation springs from human hands, a force works towards the victory of life, even through the stars. Here on the earth, winter yields slowly, strikes again and hard, and lovely buds advance, guards of spring, suffer harsh death, and pity moves the heart. Yet life keeps pulsing on. The stars still shine, the sun rises again, new buds burst forth, and life still presses on. Oh, mystery! I lift my eyes in wonder and in awe. Amen. I'm going to begin by sharing a short summary of just a part of a well-known story, Gulliver's Travels. It was written in 1726 by Jonathan Swift in England. For those of you who don't know the story, Gulliver wakes up after a storm at sea and finds that he is shipwrecked on an island. Very small people, who consider him to be a giant. He is in the kingdom of Lilliput, and once the little people realize he's not going to hurt them, they implore him to help them in their ongoing war to defeat their enemies from the kingdom of Blefuscu, located on another island not far away. This part of the story is referred to as the War of the Eggs. Gulliver visits the Lilliputian capital city of Mildendo and the emperor's palace. He is later visited by Reldressel, an official in the Lilliputian government. Reldressel tells Gulliver about the religious and political divisions that have plagued Lilliput for years, which stems from a disagreement over the correct way to break an egg. According to a Lilliputian philosopher, all true believers break their eggs at the convenient end. Tradition dictates that eggs are to be cracked at their bigger ends. But a Lilliputian emperor passed a law stating eggs could be cracked only on their smaller ends. This outraged the big Indians in Lilliput. Some rebelled and were executed. Others fled to the kingdom of Blefuscu, which led to a series of wars between Blefuscu and Lilliput. Gulliver learned that the rebel big Indians remain in Lilliput and another war is brewing. He agrees to help defend Lilliput against its enemies. So the controversy over which end of the egg is most favorable for breaking is a direct reflection of the conflicts between the Catholics and the Protestant groups in England that at the time of the novel's publication in the early 1700s had destabilized the English government for well over a century. The tradition of cracking eggs at the bigger end is analogous to the traditional Christian teachings of Catholicism. The emperor who passed the law to crack eggs at the smaller end appears to be a reference to Henry VIII's literal break with the Catholic Church and the establishment of the Church of England. The subsequent outrage and rebellion can be traced in English history, and the scenario sets up Blefuscu as a symbol of France, a country to which many persecuted Catholics fled. This highlights how the conflict between two factions of the same religion were based on ultimately arbitrary and insignificant differences, given the numbers of lives lost as a result. Situations like this one occur far too often. We all know of disputes between family members, between friends, between colleagues, between political parties, between nations that are based on very meager issues. Our tribes have stories, and we hold on to our versions of those stories, declaring that other versions are wrong, misguided, or evil. And humans can hold grudges for a very long time, centuries sometimes. How many people and relationships are sacrificed when someone says, "But it's the principle of the thing"? The million-dollar question here is, why do humans do this to each other? Some of us see that we can be our own worst enemies when we perceive threats everywhere, and that our survival and our flourishing as a species has relied on cooperation as much or more than competition. Humankind has survived because we have helped each other get food, provide shelter, to protect each other from real threats. In fact, there are lots of examples of animals doing similar behaviors for the sake of the pack, or the herd, or the flock. Yet we still get hostile unnecessarily and use separation and aggression in response to dealing with the unfamiliar others. Most armchair psychologists can tell you that fear is the emotion that underlies a choice to act this way. When we think we are being threatened, we justify and rationalize many defensive or aggressive behaviors. This is normal, unfortunately. Again, we see this in nature. We are a part of nature, and we share many common functions with our animal cousins. Yet because we are human, some of us have striven to rise above the brutality of a dog-eat-dog world. Some of us desire to create a world where threats are reduced, where there is more opportunity and support for building safe and constructing relationships, and where peace is more prevalent than conflict and strife. There is no doubt that to do this, we are going to have to give up many of our old ways, old beliefs, old myths, old habits. One of these things we will have to let go of is the need to be right. I'll say more on this later. For about 9 years, I have been involved in a local organization called Interfaith Grand River. It was formed in the summer of 2001, 24 years ago, and the first meeting was held 2 days after 9/11. Just imagine a room where Christians, Jews, and Muslims came together for the first time right after the towers came down in New York City, and the animosity towards Muslims was flaring very highly. The tension in the air was palpable. Since that time, we have met once a month to keep talking, to build good relations among us, and to work towards reducing the barriers among all religious and cultural groups in our region. So if that's what it is, interfaith, what is it not? Interfaith is not about reinforcing the differences that exist among us. It's about accepting and appreciating them. Interfaith is not about standing aloof from one another politely. Some people use different terms to describe various relationships. Take the term multi-faith or religious pluralism. Sometimes these are meant to indicate that a society may tolerate and even respect other religions, but there may not be active reaching out across the divide. Real interaction, getting to know and understand each other. Interfaith action calls us to reach out, to connect, to get closer. Interfaith is very closely allied with social justice because it is the common ground among most religions. It's very easy for folks from different traditions to arrive quickly at an agreement that we should do something to improve the lives of our neighbors. That's a no-brainer. Sometimes that can readily become the singular focus among different groups. But interfaith is not simply social action. What makes interfaith different from the many secular social agencies in town? We have an active, secular, multicultural center in Kitchener with good people serving the needs of many folks of diverse cultures. How is Interfaith Grand River different from the Multicultural Center? Interfaith means that our religious beliefs are part of our motivation to act. Our desire to be of service to our neighbors is part of our spiritual calling. And generally speaking, whether we are believers or non-believers, consideration of our inner lives is a major factor in how we come together and address issues. This interfaith work is part of my spiritual practice. It's not simply secular, because to build relationships that affirm the worth and dignity of all people is sacred to me. When I got to know the people who come from different cultures and religions, it became clear to me that those who are committed to peace through interfaith relationships have given up the need to be right. So why does it matter? Everyone hearing these words today can think of examples in history, from ancient to recent, where religion has been a major factor in the divisions among us. You will recall my story of Gulliver's Travels at the beginning of my talk. Some of the most destructive actions taken on the planet by humans have been justified with religious language and religious loyalty. It's not the religion itself that is to blame for the violence and destruction. The perpetrators of harm have used selected holy scripture to justify their actions. Religious doctrines have been used to justify violent action. Aggressive leaders have tried to sanctify their warlike actions, absolving themselves of condemnation and selling the righteousness of their militaristic and hostile plots with religious whitewash. Very nasty stuff. Religion itself is not the problem, but it has been a great tool in the reinforcement of insular divisions that have been woven into the fabric of what has made us human for as long as there have been humans. We wouldn't have survived without the primacy of the tribe. The tribe is an extended family, a larger group there to support and protect our family units. We have biologically based attachments to our primary family, bonds that provide life. Those attachments are extended to our clan and our tribe. For most of our history, defense of these bonds has been a matter of life and death, but this has included separating ourselves from the other, making an enemy of the other. Today, prejudice is the result. Unless we take into account these primitive biological and mythological forces, some which are very destructive and divisive, that are like hidden programs running in the background, we may never resolve some of the barriers to creating a healthier world. For those of us who would like to see change in the world, it's clear that will take a very long time. I won't be around to see that, but I recall the axiom, blessed are those who plant trees under whose shade they will never sit. In the meantime, we have hope. Hope is the soil we till. Leila Gifty Akita said, hope is a fertile soil where flowers may blossom. I added the word may because there are no guarantees. But while we do this work of interfaith and we look around once in a while, we can see a little blossom of change, and this is good. It encourages us to keep going. So what are the barriers? It doesn't take too much imagination to speculate about what the barriers might be. The first that jumps out for most people is prejudice. I referred to it earlier as a barrier. I just have to say the word, and most of you can fill in the blanks in an instant. Prejudice begins prejudice between and among people about ethnic, cultural, national, political issues, and so on, is a constant that all of us who want to see progressive change in any area of society must confront continually. Then, like many organizations that have lofty goals and need a lot of sweat equity to achieve them, we find some interested, sincere people. We find that some interested, sincere people adopt what I call passivity. But there are some good reasons for this passivity. It isn't about laziness, being too busy. Most people are good people and want to see change, but we have been raised with the instruction, do not talk about religion and politics. Why, that's how you make enemies. You'll just make a lot of trouble. So that one's about fear. It's also about a lack of skill. We don't learn how to engage someone in serious matters constructively who is very different from ourselves. No one has shown us how. We just don't have the experience. So that one is about the lack of skill. A third reason has to do with the difficulty so many of us have with letting go of being right. What's your first reaction when you tell someone a very important belief you hold near and dear to your heart, and their response is, "Oh, you're wrong about that"? Many of us get very defensive in that situation. We start to find fault with the other in this confrontation, and we dig in more firmly to defend the rightness of our belief. Letting go of being right is a lot more easily said than done for many of us. So what's reasonable to expect? Recently, I read a very inspiring book. It's called We Need to Build, Field Notes for a Diverse Democracy. It's really a handbook with a lot of suggestions to reach some of the goals I'm talking about here. The author, Eboo Patel, is an American Muslim who created the organization called Interfaith America, which is now nationwide in the US. He was on President Obama's inaugural Faith Council. He said, "We believe Interfaith America should replace our current understanding of America as a Judeo-Christian nation." Wow, that's huge. And it becomes massive when I think about what America is dealing with right now with the religious right and white Christian nationalism. Many of the people who stormed the Capitol in Washington on January 6, 2021, have no doubt that their beloved nation must be preserved as a Judeo-Christian nation, and they're prepared to defend that principle, some with violence. They're not ready to let go of being right. So how do we let go of being right? An early step in this process is to find a way to remove the fear of the other. Well, how? One way is through exposure. We all know stories of people who, once they get to know someone, change their feelings about them. So exposure to the other can help a lot. For instance, I'm very happy to see the schoolyard at my granddaughter's school when I go to pick her up. There's every shade of skin color mixed across the whole pack of energetic, happy children. The proportion of European ethnicity is way down. When I was a child in my elementary school, there were no children of East Asian, South Asian, African, or indigenous ethnicity. In my granddaughter's school, it's a safe bet that the majority of religions and families are something other than Christian, even if it's only the nominal Christians. There's still more of the non-Christian families. This is good, in my opinion. Children grow up with their best friends being something very different from themselves culturally and religiously. They barely notice the differences, and as they become thinking teenagers, they might wonder what all the fuss has been about throughout history. This kind of exposure is good. In Interfaith Grand River, we are exposing ourselves to each other as we get to know each other and find out that the others are wonderful people. It's been massive to me in terms of my spiritual journey to be able to spend time with these people that the majority of my life, I never even knew that they could be so thoughtful, so sincere, so intelligent, so so willing to listen and so forth. I've just been affected so much by this experience. Another process to help us let go of being right is through educating our population to understand and apply principles like relativism versus absolutism, like subjectivity versus objectivity, like considering evidence versus prejudice and assumptions. These are critical thinking skills that, when applied, can help us avoid repeating the mistakes of the past based on fear and tradition. Children need to be taught critical thinking skills and base their conclusion on evidence. If there had been such a child in Jonathan Swift's story in Gulliver's Travels, they might have asked, to the horror of the establishment around them, what does it matter if we open our eggs from the big end or the small end? What's the big deal? So at a recent Thanksgiving event hosted by Interfaith Grand River, we were asked to state what we were grateful for. I said I was grateful for open hearts and open minds. I said that if it weren't for open hearts and open minds, we wouldn't all be sitting here in this room together, accepting and supporting each other. Because we have open hearts and open minds, we are able to let go of the need to be right. So why am I doing this? I'm someone with a very checkered past when it comes to religion. I have wrestled with it. I have jumped on bandwagons with it. I have rejected it. I have been ecstatic about it. I have been angry about it. I've wondered about it. I've been sad about it. I've been all this and more when it comes to religion. When I thought of all religions, all major foreign beliefs and customs, as well as the familiar dogmas and doctrines of my own experience, it was very easy for me to say, they're all just plain nuts. But somewhere in the last decade, just as I was raising my head and looking around a little bit further and a little wider, I got a chance to be with other people who were honestly seeking connection with something larger than themselves, even if that something was simply an idea. I found out that these very different people were more like me than I'd ever imagined. I found fellow pilgrims making their progress in their own ways. And all this came in a package called interfaith. In many conventional religions, I am rejected outright because I'm a non-believer in whatever doctrines or dogmas deemed to be the ultimate truth in some prescribed arena. But with my interfaith friends, I'm accepted for who I am, and there are none of the usual conditions that must be met. Interfaith Grand River is a fertile garden where even the most unconventional little flower like me can flourish. You didn't know I was a little flower, did you? So why do I do this? First, to answer this, I'll describe my big picture perspective that I want to be a part of. I'll take a page from Margaret Mead, who said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. In fact, or indeed, it's the only way that it ever has." Pardon me, it's the only thing that ever has, right? I want to read that again, just because this is a very significant piece for me. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. So, Interfaith Grand River is a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens who want to change the world. And I want to be a part of this. And to paraphrase many who have gone before me, I want to change the world even a little bit, one mind at a time, one heart at a time. Second, I'm a Unitarian, and Unitarians like to repeat a well-worn quote, possibly said by a very early Unitarian by the name of Francis David in the 1500s, because it represents us so well. We need not think alike to love alike. Okay, we need not think alike to love alike. I want a t-shirt. I'm gonna get a t-shirt with that on there. So I love this quote. It has interfaith written all over it. I have this experience every time I sit in a room full of folks at an interfaith Grand River meeting. We need not think alike to love alike. I said that prejudice is a constant, whether conscious or unconscious, and we must confront it continually. Another is passivity among the citizenry based in fear of the unknown, and based in a lack of skill in communicating and problem solving with people of different cultures. Finally, because of our tribal solidarity and survival, we are so reluctant to let go of being right. I have found that once I realized that I was safe and that other people thinking, feeling, and believing differently did not threaten me, I discovered that letting others be right for themselves is okay. In fact, it's more than okay. I see that they are okay, not just their thoughts, with their beliefs. Them, as human beings, they're okay. And that builds the bonds that helps humanity flourish and bring peace. I talked about the good reasons the message of interfaith action is a great fit with my spiritual journey, and I tied it together with the universal message of love. I'm interested in using love as a verb here today. Love is action, and interfaith action is one of the many ways we can be loving. The last thing I'll say is this: to love takes courage. To offer love through interfaith action takes courage to reach out to others you aren't familiar with, to take risks by expressing opinions that may not be popular, and to stand in solidarity with those with whom you may not agree. Remember, we don't have to be right. We can let go of the need to be right. We can let others be right for themselves. We need not think alike to love alike. Loving is good. Good for yourself, good for others, and good for humanity. Do it. Thank you.